welcome to Master Your Life with Kate McKay, a show exclusively dedicated to uncovering the path to excellence through powerful stories of grit, determination, and transformation. I'm Kate, and welcome to the show. Today, I'm really looking forward to introducing my guest today. I've been fortunate enough to meet some incredible women through an incredible woman named Rhonda Swan, and Loretta Wetzel is one of those, also known as Mama Soul Wisdom. Welcome, Loretta.
Kate, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's an honor and privilege because we get to have fun today.
It's so much about the fun. So, truthfully, that's really what it's about, isn't it, Loretta? That even in the hardest and the darkest of times, we are here to live in this place of gratitude. And I do want to dig into that. But first, just a little bit about you. You are also, as I said, known as Mama Soul Wisdom. You are a motivational speaker and prominent family entrepreneur expert. Loretta empowers individuals to move towards financial freedom through business ownership. She uses her particular system that I can't wait to hear about, that she's developed over years to create powerful results with personal and business success. This continues to be her life's work. Why? Because creating a business is the only way to gain a competitive edge in life for yourself and your family. This leads towards passive income for building true wealth. Yes, and so it is. So tell me about that. Was that fostered in you as a child growing up, the sense of business acumen?
Actually, it was, and I didn't realize it. You see, I grew up in a family, youngest of 4 kids, and I was fortunate enough to have a mom and dad. My dad worked at the post office by night, but during the day, he ran a newspaper distributorship out of the basement of our 2-flat, and my mom kept the books. And so we each had our chores to do with the business. So mine was Saturday mornings at 6:30 a.m. I was responsible for stuffing the comics and the sales papers and all of the inserts into the Saturday paper. And I couldn't watch cartoons until my job was done. There you go. Who knew, right? Now, my parents taught me to go to school, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder, like most people, right? So I had no idea I actually would wind up being an entrepreneur. But as I look back, the seeds were planted into me a long, long time ago.
So do you think your parents were just doing what they had to do to make a go of it and didn't see the same unique qualities of entrepreneurship?
I actually believe that they knew in order to gain that competitive edge, it was necessary. See, we grew up on the south side of Chicago in the ghetto. So to the point where I didn't really believe there was a fall season because everywhere I looked, there were dead brown leaves and broken glass. So when I read in books, which was my escape, I burned a hole in my library card. That's another story. That was my escape. But in my reality, it was broken glass, brown dead leaves, no trees anywhere. And the rats pretty much control the alley. So if you wanted to cross, you had to ask. So that was my surrounding. And they knew in order to have their children to gain a competitive edge, they had to control a business to gain access to better education.
Right. And being one of 4 kids. So were all of you entrepreneurial bent, or were you the one that sort of just took the helm as the youngest?
It was me.
Yes.
None of my other siblings. It was me. Something about being able to have conversations with my mom and dad about money. So I was responsible. This was when the paper boys actually collected the invoice. And so we received actual dollar bills and quarters and nickels and dimes. I know I'm dating myself, but I do share old school wisdom for a new generation.
Yes.
However, I was responsible for putting the quarters in the wrappers, the $10 wrappers. I was responsible for putting the dimes in the wrappers. I was the one that was responsible for handling the coins. My dad handled the bills, right?
Right.
But it was a part of my life growing up. And I thought everybody did that because it was just part of our chores. are assigned chores to do.
So did you think that that made you have a different relationship with money? Like, because I think that's a very interesting thing. I mean, I'm one of 9 children and we didn't have a lot of money, right? And so you have this different sense about how you honor money in a different way. And it could be either a positive or negative, yes?
Absolutely, because money is an energy, it's simply a tool. And so you must check your money beliefs. Even today, subconsciously, some people think in an abundance mindset, others think in a scarcity mindset. So you check your money beliefs. If you find yourself saying things like, well, money doesn't grow on trees, well, technically it does if it's paper and.
That was my motto. Money doesn't grow on trees.
But it's that whole scarcity mindset of, money is scarce and I'm not going to be able to create it. Where with the abundance mindset, especially if you're an entrepreneur, having a business that you can control, you can nurture it, you can grow it, you can expand it, you can create legacy, you can build passive wealth. And this isn't just about you. This is about something bigger than you, because other people will watch you, your family members, your community members, your church members, and they can see themselves in you because you took the risk to do it.
But it takes great courage, though, doesn't it? When we think about that. Because I think as a woman, and also coming from a place of poverty as you were, it's that, who do you think you are, Loretta? You think you're all that in a bag of chips or whatever. So how were you able to persevere through that? That's a big issue that often comes up and it's men or women. It's that fear of being judged. And the bigger piece, which is, if I make these changes, if I become who I came here to be, who God put me here to be, I'm going to lose these relationships.
You learn the tool of so what?
Wait a minute, listeners, write that down. What's the tool called? Where do we buy it?
So what? People will say things, they will provide their opinion, and you can choose to buy into that, or you can say, so what? And keep moving forward. Your environment is critical. Learn how to be around people who will celebrate you, not tolerate you.
Why is that so important?
When you surround yourself with people who will celebrate you, then they're going to encourage you for the little wins, the big wins, the everything in between, to taking that very first step, and then another step, and then another step. Those are the people that you want to associate with. The other people, really, I call them crabs in a barrel. And they'll attempt to pull you down and tell you, who do you think you are? You grew up poor south side of Chicago. Who do you think you are? You're Black and you're a woman, right? You can't do that. They will tell you the most idiotic things. And so you learn how to associate with people who will celebrate you and not simply tolerate you. And you learn how to build the confidence and the courage to keep moving forward. You also learn how to build the confidence and courage to be vulnerable. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the secret.
And thank you for sharing that. So what I hear in that too is that you do have to learn that, the so what tool, as you said. And then the challenge is oftentimes, if you're different from everybody else, right, that like you were different than the other people in your life, as was I. And so I totally felt it was necessary to hide pieces of myself and to build a fortress of independence, like that I can do it on my own. Because no matter where I got dropped, first girl going to college, I sent off to private high school, thrown in a career, theater role, whatever. My life was always, whoa, where am I now? And I didn't have the tool of vulnerability, which is asking people for help and building community. I'm over that now. But Loretta, how it sounds like you learned that earlier. And I'm really curious about your path to understanding that your superpower was not only building that confidence and courage, but moving into that place of being vulnerable.
Absolutely. Here's why. You will have a tendency, especially when you stick out like a sore thumb, rather, like you are a nerd. I was considered a nerd. Okay. So in my community, I spoke good English.
Mm-hmm.
In my community, I was smart. Mm-hmm. Do you know I had to learn how to defend myself? Or I would be after school, kids would jump on me and they beat me up because I was smart. So when you're growing up, you will isolate yourself to attempt to protect yourself because you know you're a nerd. You know you're unique. My escape route, I would read every book I could get my hands on. As I became older, when I went away to college, I learned that isolation was not my friend because there were other people that I was exposed to, and exposure is the key. I was exposed to people and cultures and ways of being that I was not familiar with. And so I had to learn how to open up and say, oh, do you mind sharing about that with me? Taking that risk? Sometimes people would say yes, and sometimes people would say no, but it was okay. Like I knew to reach out and to build relationships because, ladies and gentlemen, that's the currency of business, is relationships. So if you want to start a business, grow your business, or even just simply stabilize a business, the way in which you do that is having shared experiences with your intended avatar, people who you want to meet, who would contribute to your business, and begin to have relationships and adding value to each other. That is the fastest way to grow your business.
Totally. Well, how did you learn that that tenacity? Or do you think you came out of the box pretty tenacious?
Well, my mom, and it's funny you asked that question because it's something that I carry with me even to this day. I look good, but I'm as old as my tongue and a little older than my teeth. So I got a few years on me. When I was a kid, before I went to kindergarten, that's how young this was. I remember because back then, kindergarten was only half day. My mom sat me down in the kitchen, sat me on a stool. And I remember because the kitchen floor had just been mopped. It was a very pale gray. We didn't have a whole lot of money, but we had a whole lot of love in our family. And she said, baby, there's something I must tell you. So what is it, Mom? I'm a kid, right? What's it? She said, you must learn. You already have 2 strikes against you. I'm like, what? She says, when you get out into this world, people will not like you because you are a girl. I'm like, Mom. She says, it's true. She said, they won't like you. You're smart. You're competitive in sports. People will not like you. You're a girl. I'm like, okay, Mom. She said, and here's the second thing. She said, people will not like you. And she used the word Negro because that was her generation. Now we say Black, African American, but this was way before James Brown came out with Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, okay? But my mom told me that. She says, they won't like you because the color of your skin. You must be prepared for that when you go out in the world. Now imagine, I'm not even going to school yet, but my mom is mentally preparing me for what I must face when I go out into the world. So I already knew. She says, when everybody else is getting B's, you have to get A's. And when everyone else is getting A's, you have to get A pluses. Why? Because you're a girl and because of the color of your skin. Got it.
Powerful. So how important is that, right? To think about that kind of conversation that we should be having with younger people about why it's important to be resilient.
Well, it's important to be resilient regardless of the circumstances. Your circumstances may not be my circumstances. So you could be a white male, but you still have circumstances that you got to deal with, and to be resilient about it. That comes from knowing thyself. That comes from tapping into your inner strength, knowing your true North Star. So how do you get there? Well, my daily practice is in the morning. It's meditation. It's prayer. It's time with myself. Number 2, it's exercise. Because you got to be able to stimulate your mind, you got to be able to stimulate your body. And when the hormones kick in and you're a lot of cortisol because you're under a lot of stress, you've got to learn how to shift out of that. Typically, exercise is the fastest way to do that, and deep breathing, right? And so spending time with affirmation, spending time with yourself, spending time with knowing your inner purpose helps keep me on track regardless of the circumstances.
It's really helpful. I love it that you told us about your morning routine, because that's usually a question I ask. So I have a kind of a funny question. So can you describe for me what maybe you would say is your favorite failure?
Ooh, that's a loaded question there, Kate.
Oh, I love it. Well, I can ask you what your favorite ice cream is, but your favorite failure is a little more interesting.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as fun. My favorite failure, I got to tell you, when I was in corporate America and I worked in my occupation was human resources manager, and I enrolled in a Six Sigma certification program. And I thought, great, I love statistics, I love math. Let me take on this big, bold, audacious project that required coordination between multiple departments with older technology that didn't necessarily all speak the same computer language. And I'm like, girl, what were you thinking? Because I eventually did not finish that certification program for Six Sigma. And I felt like such a failure. But here's what I learned, because there's always a lesson in your failure. Your failure is simply feedback. It is not you personally. And the lesson that I learned is, in life, keep it simple.
Well, how do you then, though, that whole piece about self-judgment, what has been your path through that? Because I think so many people, particularly during this time right now, Loretta, have so much self-judgment and fear and lack of hope, right? So what is the way out? What is the path out for people? What would you advise them if someone's coming to you and saying, I don't know what I want, I'm overwhelmed, I don't have any hope, we're screwed?
Awareness is the first step to transformation, okay? But oftentimes what happens is that we engage in activities that will continue to keep us numb. And we all do it from time to time, and they're different variations, shall I say. Some people like to engage in a little bit of alcohol, maybe a little more than they should. Some people engage in the chocolate therapy. Some people are shopaholics and they still have clothes in their closet with price tags on it. Some people are simply numb because they are binge watching whatever happens to be on their favorite streaming application. But at the end of the day, you've got to take stock in becoming aware. See, the grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence. The grass is greener where you water it.
Have you picked up your copy of my best-selling book, Claim Your Inner Badass? Available on Amazon now. Go grab your copy.
That's the first step, awareness. Second step, you must be able to take action. You want to know what my two best friends are on earth? My very two best friends on earth: implementation and cash flow. So my two best friends.
Oh, so good. And tell me why. Like, why is that? How did you come to that? Because that's so important. Because being able to take action is huge. So you have the awareness, and then for you, action is implementation and cash flow. That's what keeps you flowing.
Yes. And it gets back to the point of the self-judgment. Self-judgment will take you out the game if you trash talk yourself, and you wouldn't allow other people to speak to you the way you speak to yourself in your mind sometimes. You wouldn't allow that. But oftentimes we beat ourselves up because we say we're going to do something and we don't do it. We feel horrible about it, and then we don't do anything. And so if you just stop and take a moment, usually there are, I would say, a few buckets that people would place themselves in. Either one, they want to do something and they say they can't because they weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth. I was born on the wrong side of the tracks. I'm blue collar. I'm not white collar. I'm this label. I'm not that label. Oh no, that's not possible for me. I wasn't born into that family. That's one bucket people will place themselves in. Another bucket is people will say, yeah, if you knew me, if you really knew me, you wouldn't love me. And they hide out, like, because they're so afraid that some imperfection that they have, and we're all imperfectly perfect because we were designed human, but somehow we think we're the only ones with that particular issue or problem. And so people will hide out. The third bucket, this is the bucket that most people fall in. And they tell themselves, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to do this. They'll talk themselves in and out of a brilliant idea. And I believe it was Les Brown that says the graveyard is the wealthiest place on earth.
I say that all the time. He's like, where is the richest place in all the world? Is it Dubai? Is it Fifth Avenue? It's the cemetery.
It's the cemetery because
Yep.
people won't take action.
Nope.
One step and then another step and then another step. And remove the judgment. Is simply performance of actions taken, actions not taken. Now, you must measure in order to maximize your efficiency so that you know where to adjust. But you keep taking action and tell yourself it's not perfect. So, implementation, my best friend. I had someone to tell me once, throw mud up against the wall and see what sticks. It's not going to be pretty, but you can start all over again. Cash flow. Cash flow, just so we're clear, is the amount of cash and cash equivalents that's being transferred in and out of the company. Cash received, inflow, cash expend, outflow. You want to have a positive cash flow. In order to do that, you must control a business. Any type of business, your unique sauce, something that you love to do, and it's next to breathing. You love it so much. You can make that into a business. And I thank the pandemic. It's talking about gratitude here. I thank the pandemic because people are now realizing you don't necessarily are required to have a brick and mortar business. A laptop, strong internet, a mobile phone, you can do business. Depending upon what geographical city you are in, Yeah, you probably need a car too, a good working car, but it's not always necessary. These days, there's no excuse. You can start a business and have that cash flow. Why do you want that cash flow? It gives you flexibility. It gives you breathing room. It allows you to be able to do the things that you want to do for yourself and your family. Income is for yourself. Revenue is for your business. Income is for yourself. Revenue is for your business. Well, now, there are three key reasons why families want to become involved in businesses as entrepreneurs. And I just mentioned the first one is cash flow and being able to generate multiple streams of income. You want that, right? Because these days, you never know what may happen. I will tell you, I really did think I was all that and a bag of chips when I worked in corporate America. I had a 6-figure income job. I had killer benefits. And I'm like, okay, I did what my parents told me to do. They didn't tell me the part about working 70 and 80 hours a week.
Oof.
They didn't tell me the part about not being able to spend time with your family as your kids are growing up. They didn't tell me that part. But I thought, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then one day, my boss called me into his office and said, Loretta, the company is undergoing a corporate merger, and we're going to have to let some people go. So I selected you. And at that moment, I went from 6 figures to 0 figures in the blink of an eye. Stunned, shocked. And as I walked out, I had to figure out what to do. And I had strikes against me. One, I didn't have any job prospects in sight. I didn't have anything else lined up. 2, companies were hiring millennials straight out of college and giving them a third of my salary, right? They didn't want to pay me what I was used to earning. 3, I had 2 kids in college with out-of-state tuition. I was going to have to call them up and says, baby, mama lost her job. So you're going to have to leave your dreams behind and come home. Do you know how much that hurt? And so I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. I interviewed, job offers. The most they wanted to pay me was half of what I was used to making. And then I reinvented myself and said, you know what? It's time to start a business. I went to a meeting. They shared about real estate investing. I'm like, this is it. I can bet on me. I can't necessarily bet on anybody else, but I know how to bet on me. So I began learning the tools and the craft of becoming a real estate investor. And 6 months later, I executed my first real estate deal in and out. It was a subject to strategy combined with a fix and flip. My corporation is based in Illinois. My first deal, believe it or not, was in California. It's unreal. But when you have relationships, there's that currency again. When you're in business, I surrounded myself with the resources required for me to be successful. So in 6 months, after all my expenses have been paid, all the contractors, closing fees, everything, I generated $80,000 net profit on that first real estate deal. Home run. Results not typical. Got to keep the legalese in there, okay? But the bottom line is I knew enough not to go back to corporate America. I knew enough to say I can grow my own business. And then since then, I've expanded not only from short-term real estate to long-term holding, passive income, which is where the true wealth is built. My husband and I control an accounting firm. We specialize in small and medium-sized businesses. And I get to have fun as a transformational speaker on stage. So there you have it. Life is good.
That's amazing. I love that story. Well, I just love it too, because you're grounded in the understanding that really, as you said, money is currency. But as the expression goes, you can go across town You can go down in a bus, you can go to a Mercedes, but a Mercedes is just more comfortable. It's just more comfortable. And you can pick and choose who you ride with, So I think that's an important piece. And I think that's the message really truly you are your relationships. And so what would you say to somebody that's considering entrepreneurship now as the shifts change? I've been describing this phenomena that we've been going through where it really is part of the path to mastery, which is, when COVID happened, we were in this survival mode and everyone was just like fear, locked in, right?
Yes.
Survival, white knuckled. And then we moved on to phase 2, which is protection phase. I need to protect the assets I have. I need to hoard toilet paper, guns, gold, Bitcoin, and then it was us against them, Republicans, Democrats, vaxxers, non-vaxxers, all of a sudden this divisiveness, part of the plan. And we've moved into phase 3 and 80% of our population has not done so. And that is the phase of production, because the people right now who are productive are the people that not only going to thrive, but are going to be able to be the helpers to help others. So I guess my question for you, Loretta, is what's your take on that thesis? And what would you advise people right now to become more productive in that life so they can take advantage of opportunities that's going to be presenting themselves in the near future?
Listen, some people are auditory learners, some are visual. So I'm going to hold my hands up. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Shift your mindset. Shift your mindset. Your goal, your message is in your mess. If you take the opportunity to figure out what you're good at in terms of solving problems, people will pay you all day long if you solve a problem for them. I'm going to keep it really simple, okay? Young entrepreneurs, I'm talking about kids. Unfortunately, I didn't live in a neighborhood growing up where you could have a lemonade stand on the corner. But even today, I know kids, they persuade their parents to go to a Costco or a Sam's or someplace like that. They get a case of water, dirt cheap, $2.25, $2.50. They have huge ice chests at home. It's summertime. They put the bottles in the ice chest with the ice. They're at the metro train stations or places where people are going to and from work, or maybe they're going to and from a concert, or maybe they're going to and from a baseball game, and they're hot and they're thirsty, and you've just solved a problem of convenience because they can't take another step without that bottle of water that you are selling for $1 when you got a case of 24 for $2.50. Solve a problem. That's your business. Any problem, and you can see it. You can talk to people. You can listen to the problems that people are having, and then you also know what you're good at, what talents that you have, what unique skills and abilities that you have. And you can turn that into a business by solving a problem. I know people who have a business simply by making gorgeous wreaths for all different types of holidays to hang out on the door. Like, yeah, these are gorgeous, right? So they do that. They have 2 little kids at home, and they don't have the opportunity or choose not to go into an office building or structure, but they can generate income from home. People do it all the time because they're solving a problem.
That's really good. So what is the problem that you're here to solve? And your message is in your mess. So, and it could be like, what was the solution to a problem that you had? And what would you say your mess was? What was the problem that, give us an example of, for you, what that would have been?
Yeah, for me, and I wrote about it in a book called Women Gone Wild, The Feminine Guide to Fearless Living. And my chapter is called Giving Gratitude because the mess that I was in, this was when I was still in corporate America, and I'll share other messes too, but when I was in corporate America, And I was young, I was hungry, I wanted to climb the corporate ladder, but I just happened to have a supervisor that, let's just say, we didn't gel. I didn't want to make her wrong. She wasn't my enemy, but we just didn't gel. And for the life of me, I just couldn't figure out what I could say or do so that she could see me differently. There were days when I'd go into the bathroom and go to the furthest stall at the end and cry my eyes out. And then I'd come back to my team and they're like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, nothing, allergies, Yeah, I did. I kept a bold face, but it was really a lie because I was heartbroken that I somehow couldn't climb the corporate ladder. It was a problem. And then one day, as I was driving home, I had a 45-minute commute on a good weather day. Bad weather day, 3 hours. But you persevere. One day I pulled off into the parking lot. I had to catch like a 10-minute nap because I was afraid I was going to fall asleep at the wheel. And I didn't want that. So I pulled off into the parking lot. I said, let me just close my eyes. And I meditated. And I said, you know what? I'm giving gratitude. Stop pushing. Stop attempting to say, hey, you want me, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm this, I'm that. I stopped pushing. And I said, every day, I'm going to walk into that job with a smile on my face. I'm going to provide compliments, sincere compliments to my boss, to my peers, to everyone around me. I said, and I'm going to be grateful for the opportunities that I do have. Giving gratitude is a game changer when you have problems and you just don't know what to do. It took about 6 months, but shifting my attitude of giving gratitude, eventually I was actually able to be successful and move up to the next rung in corporate America because of the whole attitude change of giving gratitude.
And that was really seemed like a shift, that realizing it wasn't about you. It's like, and I think that's the piece that really helps in the gratitude practice, is that realizing that oftentimes our suffering is from personalization, that we personalize rejection and we personalize people's attitudes and we personalize everything. And if we realize, wow, this moment is perfect, I'm just going to breathe in and be present, not be able to take on other people's stuff, but realize, and it's amazing what happens around you. And I love that you talked about that it really takes great confidence and courage, because living in a place of gratitude and being willing requires a level of vulnerability. And I'm really grateful that you brought that story now, because that's particularly important in this place we are right now, that it is in the community. And a lot of people are feeling isolated and alone. If someone could listen to this and just hear that you're not alone, and that, just start in this place of acceptance, knowing that your right and perfect decisions is before you and you're worthy.
And being vulnerable then allows you to reach out. It allows you to seek guidance, to seek a coach, to get help, to do the things, because you don't know everything, right? But that doesn't mean you can't achieve your dream. You must surround yourself with the right resources. You must surround yourself with a team of people. So being vulnerable, it's paradoxical because it's actually your greatest strength.
And I also sense for you, one of your greatest strengths has been your sense of curiosity. And I just want to honor you for that, because a lot of people lose that. And you and I, we're going to hold on to our curiosity and our excitement about every single day is a new day to grow and to learn and to be and to add value. And Loretta, thank you so much for joining us on Master Your Life. I'm really grateful for you and the knowledge that you bring to the world. And Mama Soul Wisdom, we will share your ways that people can reach out to you and touch and play with you in the show notes. But, just definitely check out her book, and she'll be speaking in October in California. And all of that information will be available again on the show notes. So Loretta, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation of joy, perseverance, curiosity, fun, and everything in between. Thank you for who you are in the world, Kate, and making a positive difference in the lives of others.
Thank you. And thank you to all the viewers and listeners of Master Your Life. I'm Kate McKay, and until next time, be positive, stay open, and keep growing.
Are you ready to claim your inner badass? Pick up my copy of my best-selling book, Claim Your Inner Badass: How to Live with Courage and Unleash Your Personal Power. Available now on Amazon.